Hello everybody and welcome to the Fitness Reloaded Habits Academy. I'm your hostess Maria Berlagi and today we're covering a really important topic, and that is why can't I lose weight as a female who diets and exercises? So if you're a woman and you're watching this and it's been a while, you haven't lost any weight and you think there's really something wrong with you or you have no idea what's going on, let's discuss. I'm going to give you the 9 steps to identify what the problem is so you can fix it and you can keep on losing weight consistently and predictably week after week. So I'm going to divide this segment into 2 sections. Section number 1 is it even true you're not losing any weight? Because sometimes you might think you're not, but you're actually losing weight and the scale is not showing it yet. And the next section is, should you even be losing any weight based on the things you're doing, okay? So we're gonna be covering both, and I'm gonna start with the first one because maybe you are losing weight and you just don't know it because the scale doesn't show it. So the first thing to ask yourself, step number 1 is your cycle masking your results? What does that mean? As a woman, you have the start of the menstrual period, you have ovulation, and those 7 days at the start of the menstrual period and then right after ovulation are the ones that have the lowest water weight. Then the days before your period and also between day 7 and 14 leading to ovulation, you're going to have the highest water weight, which means that you step on the scale and even though you're losing fat, because your body is doing its own thing with the menstrual cycle, you might not see the fat loss even though you might have been losing fat because of your cycle. So this is something to keep in mind. So if you're comparing to, let's say, what happened last week, well, yeah, but last week, let's say the last time you took your measurement, you were at a different point in your cycle, and that might actually affect exactly what it is you're looking at right now. So as a woman, you always have this up and down that just happens naturally because of your cycle, and this is something to keep in mind. So it will be more accurate to compare to like a month ago to the exact same week when you were going through the exact same stage of your cycle and see between back then and now how much weight have you lost. So that will at the very least decrease the effect of your cycle on your weight because you will be able to compare the same type of weeks to the same type of week. So if you're comparing the start of the menstrual period to the start of the menstrual period or ovulation to ovulation. Let's move on to the second one. We have water weight fluctuations in general, okay? And I have talked about it in this video, so please go here and click to learn all the things that affect our water weights. And that is huge because you might be losing a pound of fat, but you might be gaining 3 pounds of water, okay? So you might be stepping on the scale and you might be seeing your weight is going 2 pounds up, and it has nothing to do with you gaining fat and everything to do with gaining water. Okay, so carbohydrates, for instance, is one of those things that increases water weight because they like to be stored in our body together with water. But this is just something very simple that happens. Just imagine you have a slice of bread and you dip it in water. That slice of bread will then weigh more, but that doesn't change anything. I mean, it's just water. So this is pretty much what happens. This is just one of the things that's going on, and I discuss it in detail in my water weight video. So go watch it and then reflect on whether you've been doing any of those things and whether they have an effect on your body, because water weight is a big deal. And when we're just talking about just a couple of pounds, my point is, if you were expecting to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, and you haven't lost anything, that's different than expecting to lose 1 to 3 pounds and you don't exactly see that, because these are the types of things that really get affected by water fluctuations, okay? Next, we're gonna move on to exercise masking fat loss through both water weight and body recomposition, okay? So let's first address exercise and water weight. Again, this is something I cover in my water weight video. When, let's say, you're sore, your water weight is gonna go up. So yesterday you had a really hard workout, you did some exercise you had never done. Today, it's very likely you're gonna step on the scale and the scale might be up, and that might have to do with your body repairing itself from your exercise session, and it has nothing to do when it comes to your fat loss, okay? So it's not because you're not losing any fat, and definitely not because you gained any fat. So that's one example of water weight and exercise. Another example is building muscle, okay? So here's what happens with exercise. If you train properly, you're gonna be building muscle. And if you're also at the same time losing fat, you're gonna be losing fat and you're gonna be gaining muscle. But this muscle gain has weight. You might, let's say, be losing 4 pounds of fat in a month, but maybe because you did really good training, you gained 1 pound of muscle. So now you step on the scale, you see 3 pounds difference, while you were expecting 4 pounds. Now, in this example, I'm not taking into account water weight at all, but that's just to show when you're building muscle, that will increase your weight. Now, if you're also losing fat, that will decrease your weight, and ultimately you will end up seeing on the scale less of the weight loss than you would be seeing if you were to not exercise at all. Now, what you will be seeing more of when you exercise is that your measurements will go down, okay? Because exercise, when you build muscle and you do body recomposition, your measurements will really go into the right direction, and you will start getting all the right curves, and it's all going to be wonderful. But measurements don't really change that much from week to week. So it's not like our weight. Our weight is super sensitive. Anything that we do affects our weight. And that's also why it's not as accurate when it comes to fat loss. Measurements are more stable, but they also take more to change, especially our hip measurement, which is, in my opinion, the most accurate because it does not get affected by bloating. The hip measurement, will tell you a lot about whether you've been losing fat. But overall, these are some things to consider when you're asking, is it even true I'm not losing any weight? Because maybe I am losing weight and the scale is not showing it. Now, if you've gone through that and you're like, no, it's not it. I am not losing any weight. Dieting and I'm exercising and I'm not losing any weight, and it has nothing to do with my water weight, with my menstrual cycle or exercise, okay? Let's move on to the next section, which is, should you even be losing any weight? What does that mean? That means that many people expect that, let's say, eating healthy or exercising will lead to fat loss. But that's not necessarily the case, because ultimately you have to understand calories in, calories out. So you have to know how many calories you're getting and how many calories you're expending to know exactly how much fat you should be losing on a weekly basis. If you're, let's say, on a low carb diet and you just cut out carbs and you expect that this will put you on a calorie deficit, maybe it's not working this way. Maybe, yes, you're not eating any carbs, but because you're eating a lot more fat and a lot more of the other foods, you're not on a calorie deficit, and hence you're not losing any weight. We'll discuss those fallacies. So first of all, understand calories in, calories out. What that means is in order for you to lose fat, you have to be expending more calories than you're consuming, okay? So your calories out should be more than your calories in. This will create a calorie deficit, which will force your body to go into those fat stores of yours and burn fat for energy, and this is how you will be losing fat. So you need a calorie deficit to lose weight. Overall, around 500 calories a day. For every 3,500 calories that you're on a deficit, you will be losing a pound of fat. So how do you know how much weight you should be losing? Well, the first step is, and that's step number 5 now, what are your maintenance calories? You have to identify your maintenance calories, and to do that, please go here, use the calorie calculator, okay, to identify how many calories you should be consuming to neither gain weight nor lose any weight. These are your maintenance calories. Your body is not storing any fat, and it's not going into those fat stores because you're maintaining, okay? So once you know your maintenance calories, then you can identify what your deficit is, meaning if you're eating less calories, okay, not eating less volume of food, but if you're eating less calories, then you're gonna be on a deficit. Now, some people are like, hey, I'm eating 1,200 calories a day. I'm eating 1,200 calories a day, and I'm still not losing any weight, and I know for a fact this is lower than my maintenance calories. That is true. It's really hard for someone to have maintenance calories at 1,200 calories, at 1,200, okay? So let's assume you think that you're eating 1,200 calories a day, okay? So this will be a calorie in mistake, because let me tell you this, if you haven't been losing any weight and it's been a few weeks and you know it's not water weight, then you're not on a deficit, okay? You might think you're on a deficit, but in reality, you're not on a deficit. So be very clear about this. You're not on a calorie deficit. So the question here is it a calories in mistake, or is it a calories out mistake, or is it an equation mistake? Okay, so we'll discuss all three. So calories in mistake is what I just mentioned. So you think you're consuming 1,200 calories a day, but you're not. You're consuming more, okay? Maybe you're forgetting to track some things. You have licks, bites, taste here and there. Maybe you're underestimating some calories. You're being a little sloppy, okay? You're not measuring things. and hence you believe you're at 1200 calories when you're not really at 1200 calories. Or maybe you're not even tracking what you're eating at all. You just have made some changes in your eating pattern, like the low carb example I mentioned earlier. Let's say you're on low carb, but now I have actually had people who gained weight on low carb because they started eating things like bacon and a lot more fatty stuff. So they ended up being on a calorie surplus. Okay, so just because you have said no to some food group, that doesn't necessarily mean it will put you in a calorie deficit. It might, but maybe it will not. Okay, and if you're not losing any fat, you know there's something going on there because you're not on a calorie deficit. Because there's no other way for you to lose any fat other than being on a calorie deficit. Be very clear about this. Now, next one, calories out mistake. Oh, that's extremely common. You went out for a run and you're like, oh, I've burned 300 calories now. I have 300 calories extra to eat. So you go ahead and eat those calories and then you're not losing any weight. So it's extremely common for people to overestimate how many calories they're burning through exercise. The numbers that the machines tell you when you're doing cardio exercise, they're not accurate. Plus, when you're calculating your calories to start with, okay, from the very beginning, if you take into account your activity level, okay, which is how most calorie calculators work, then exercise is kind of already built into it. So then you go ahead and do your walk or you go to the gym and all of that, and you're like, oh, I'm going to subtract those calories. Yeah, but maybe you have already included them in your original equation and now you're double counting them. So if you go ahead and then eat those calories, then you will be on a smaller deficit than what you were expecting to be. So let's say instead of losing 1 pound a week, now you're losing half a pound a week. And let's say that's the case. If you're losing half a pound a week, it's gonna take you 4 weeks for you to lose 2 pounds. Now, keep in mind, you have like all the water weight fluctuations, so you might not even see that. So yeah, in the course of 1 month, you lost 2 pounds, but because of water fluctuations, you might not even see that and you will want to pull your hair out because you will be very frustrated. And it all comes down to your expectation of, oh, I'm going to lose 4 pounds. But no, you didn't. You lost 2 pounds. Plus water weight fluctuations, okay? So you end up not seeing it and now you're going crazy. So what we do in the Fitness Learning Habits Academy to keep ourselves safe from overestimating calories burned is we don't count them at all. And when we do, because sometimes we do, like if you go ahead and have a really hard 2-3 hour workout, okay, go count the calories you burned from exercise, but just half, only half. Ultimately, the worst that can happen by you not including all the calories you burned from exercise is that you might end up losing weight faster. That I have yet to see with any of my clients, okay? Because there's so many mistakes that are going on, especially with calories in, with underestimating how much you're eating, underestimating portion sizes, forgetting things, genuine mistakes. You thought something was 100 calories, boom, you look it up later, it was 300 calories. That I have yet to see someone who's like, oh, look, I beat my expectations, I'm losing weight even faster. So if you want to be on the safe side, just don't take exercise into account. And if you're using one of those apps like MyFitnessPal who take exercise into account, just don't pay attention to it. Do not sync your Fitbit or your pedometer so that it doesn't have this information and it does not play tricks with your head. Assume it's not there. That's going to be the safest route for you. And worst case scenario, you end up losing weight faster and you're like, okay, maybe I can eat more calories. How about that? That's going to keep you safe. Next, now that we cover calories in and calories out mistakes, let's cover equation mistakes, okay? So when you're using any calorie calculator, like the one that's on my website, okay, fitnesslearning.com/calorie-calculator. So when you're using any calorie calculator, there's always a chance that the number that you get is not accurate for you, okay? Because ultimately, the calorie calculator only knows so much about you. For instance, someone who is more muscular will likely burn more calories than someone who's not. Now, the calorie calculator doesn't know that. So ultimately, the equation, okay, this is just one example that shows that the equation that the calculators use, it is only an estimate. You do not know that for a fact that if, let's say, you eat 1,600 calories a day, you will be losing a pound a week. Probably, but you don't know that for a fact. So you go ahead, you put it to the test, and if you end up losing more, unlikely, but it happens sometimes, or if you end up losing less, okay, in the course of the next few weeks, and you're sure it's not water weight, and you're sure it's not a calories in mistake or a calories out mistake, then you might need to adjust that number that you got from the equation, and that is normal because it is only an estimate, it is not set in stone. Oh, and before I go into my final point, there are some other things that affect the estimate. Like for instance, if let's say you have hypothyroidism, that will decrease your maintenance calories, but the calculator doesn't know that. Keep in mind, if you have hypothyroidism and it's treated, okay, you take your daily pills like you should be, so your TSH is at normal levels, you shouldn't have any issues with your maintenance calories. It's when you have hypothyroidism that's being left untreated, okay, you have really high TSH, that's when you will see you have a difficulty in losing weight, meaning your maintenance calories will be lower. And once you go ahead and treat your TSH and your hypothyroidism, then your maintenance calories will increase. Again, your calorie calculator does not know that. So these are some of the things that the calculator does not take into account. Step number 9, old calorie deficit estimate. What does that mean? That means that you did your math in the beginning, you started losing weight, now you've lost 10-20 pounds, okay, and now you see that weight loss is slowing down, or you're not really seeing it that much. You know what that means is that you need to update that estimate, because now you are a person who is smaller. You've already lost 20 pounds, so you can't be if you keep on being on that same deficit. So let's say you started out losing weight at 1800 calories a day. Now you've lost 20 pounds, you still eat 1800 calories a day. Well, you'll be losing less fat on a weekly basis because now you're a smaller person who requires less energy. So you need to go to the calculator again and repeat the process all over again, but update your weight with your current weight. So overall, with my clients, I recommend that they go recalculate their calories for every 10 pounds they lose. So the calories are always updated to their latest progress, and this way they can keep making progress at the same pace and they will not plateau. And this is very important when it comes to weight loss plateaus. So that was it. We covered the 9 steps, okay? The first ones, is it even true you're not losing any weight? The final ones is, should you even be losing the weight you expect to be losing based on the things you're doing? So I hope that by now you should be able to troubleshoot what's going on with you. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe to my channel. This really helps get those videos out there so more people get accurate science-based information about how to lose weight. There are too many fads out there that tell you that, let's say, you're gonna lose weight if only you don't eat this or you don't eat that. Not true. That's just one example. Touched on today, you need to be on a calorie deficit to lose weight. And if you exclude any food groups and you lose weight, it's because they put you on a calorie deficit. So that's just an example. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned because there will be more of that posting. And please leave a comment, let me know what's your struggle with weight loss, okay? Why do you think you can't lose weight? And now that you know all the steps, what steps do you think might be what you should be looking into to see? I think, step number 2 or step number 5 is something I should double check to see if this is the problem about why I'm not losing weight at the pace I thought I should be losing. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.